CAIR, who has advocated for freedom of speech online, has demanded and celebrated the firing of a man for using his free speech online. Let's dive into this troubling story with my guest here today, the man who was unfortunately fired. Welcome.
Hello.
So if my audience is not already familiar, this Thaddeus from Reasoned Answers. You've been here on the show quite a bit. So why don't you give me a rundown? What is going on here? What is this whole blow up going on here with hair and all this stuff, man? I blink for 5 seconds, go away for a little bit, and you blow up the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give a abbreviated version because a lot of people will have heard the details by now. But worked at a place called Community Shelter Board for the last 8.5 years. It's kind of governing or administrative organization over the homeless system here in Columbus, Ohio. I worked as a data analyst, analyzing trends, preparing reports, stuff like that. No contact with clients, no contact with homeless people, in other words. Had no determination over who was served, how they were served, or anything like that. In the fall, organization got a new employee named Liz. For some reason, and I don't really know why exactly, she decided that she had a massive problem with me, and she filed an HR complaint against me. At the time, the company investigated it. I was told they had a lawyer specializing in discriminations issues look at my content and found nothing to be problematic, and that was that. Or so we thought. Liz ended up leaving the company under a cloud, under a performance issue. She says that she was that she put in a resignation. As far as I knew, she was fired. Whatever, it doesn't make any difference. Either way, she was under a performance cloud. She left the organization, and everyone forgot about her. Well, that was until about mid-March. Get a call from a reporter saying that they are working on a story based on the toxic work environment at CSB, Community Shelter Board, as it related to my YouTube channel. News to me that there was a toxic work environment there, since some people knew about my channel, some people didn't, but no one had ever expressed anything negative about it, right? No one had ever been concerned about it. I got along just fine with all my coworkers, didn't have toxic relations with anyone, other than Liz, who was long gone. And that was all from her end, because I didn't actually say anything mean to her or do anything mean to her while she worked there either. In any case, the reporter says they're doing this story. I talked to the reporter. I talked to HR. We don't know what's going to happen exactly. We're kind of hoping that maybe they won't publish the story, but they do end up publishing it. It turns out to be a smear piece, making false accusations, or at least highly deceptive accusations about the nature of my content. This creates a political storm from elected officials at the city. I was told that the mayor contacted CSB, that county officials also are raising questions. And then the next day, CAIR, the Islamic organization, which is all about free speech, says that an individual who would say such things, which again, I didn't really say, at least not in the way the article implied, cannot be trusted to be employed, basically. And then I was put on administrative leave. I was promised a very thorough investigation by a third-party law firm would be conducted. Within 24 hours, I received a call that I had been terminated. They would not allow me back into the office to pick up my own things. I would not be allowed to say goodbye to anyone. I would not be allowed to provide any explanation to the other people who worked there as to what happened. I just disappeared and no one knew what happened. Of course, word got around, people figured things out. They're not stupid, right? The company issues a statement saying, we're aware of comments made on a personal blog, and also issues a statement that Thaddeus is on administrative leave, or not on administrative leave, that he will be unavailable for the foreseeable future. I mean, they kind of figured out the two are probably related. People aren't that stupid.
They can connect the dots.
Right. But officially, the company didn't say what had happened. I just disappeared, and that was it. I worked there 8.5 years, had positive performance reviews, was praised for the quality of my work. Then even my content on my YouTube channel had been investigated and said it was acceptable within legal bounds, not a concern. And then it hits the press. People at the government and CAIR are raising questions, and suddenly, well, it's easier to fire Thaddeus than answer these questions, so Thaddeus is fired.
So there's a very interesting story all in all. Of course, you've said it over and over again. We're hitting it from a bit of a different angle because I'm looking at what CAIR actually says and what their actual motives are. Because as the title of the video says, CAIR doesn't care about you. And this is why. So you're saying that they came along. Now, again, it's kind of surprising that this one random individual had enough sway to get politicians involved and blow this quite, what I would perceive as quite out of the water, just blow it out of size and pull everyone in on it. But at the same time, and I've got a few videos up here from CAIR, which I have added in this video, is their actual CAIR's YouTube channel. Because after all, they should have the ability to respond using their freedom of speech that they seem to be so prone on. So, in fact, I'm going to add this video here and play a little clip from this video here, which is much longer. But he's here talking about how important free speech is according to CAIR.
It's not just about a number. It is about individuals, families, people of different ages and backgrounds who have dreams and hopes. However, all of them suffered injustice because of their opinions, expressing them in the workplace and in other places, mainly about the issue of the genocide in Gaza and the crackdown on liberation in the West Bank. So let me address this issue. I stand here today to address a pressing issue that strikes at the very heart of our democracy, the unconstitutional crackdown on free speech in the United States. This fundamental right, enshrined in the First Amendment of our Constitution, is under threat, particularly for those who dare to protest against the Israeli genocide and war crimes in Gaza and in the West Bank, and also protesting our government's unconditional support of that genocide.
So if you support their perspective, you're fine. You have freedom of speech. In fact, there are articles after articles. Here's another one from CAIR's website, which is asking people to take action now to silence what they call an anti-free speech bill that looks like it's going to effect there in Ohio. And it is calling people to sign up for this and try to stop it. Which, again, if you look into it, it's not actually what they claim it is. It's saying, hey, we probably shouldn't be supporting terrorist organizations. Just a little common sense, in my opinion. But, you know, that's a little overrated sometimes.
Yeah, for a second there at the start, I mean, I thought he was talking about me. He says all these people of different backgrounds, different desires, different cares, different opinions. They've come under fire for things they said outside of the workplace and in the workplace. To be clear, I didn't actually talk about Islam in the workplace, but it seemed like he was talking about me, right? They got in trouble for the speech that they've given, and this is wrong. And then he says, oh, well, actually, I'm only talking about one group. I'm only talking about people who protested against Israel, calling it genocide, right? Which is obviously a very opinionated thing. One could even say a bigoted ideology. No reference there. No reference there. It's not like the CAIR Ohio directors said that he wanted to make it clear that employees who project bigoted ideology, especially on social media, which I believe YouTube is social media, cannot be trusted to act with integrity in their work. So according to the director of CAIR Ohio, the spokesperson for CAIR National there can't be trusted to act with integrity in his work because he's projecting bigoted ideologies.
Absolutely. Now, targeting you, as they have done, is not outside their preview. They've done this multiple times. In fact, they've been pressuring a school system to take strict disciplinary action against a 12-year-old girl for an alleged hate crime. Again, it's just alleged. There's no actual evidence, but they want her to be charged with a hate crime. A 12-year-old girl. Just putting that out there.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if she was projecting bigoted ideologies on her social media too.
Maybe. I think it involved a school scuffle that she was involved in.
I know that in the grand scheme of things, 27,000 subscribers isn't all that much influence, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot more than a 12-year-old girl has. So it seems that she must have said something really, really extreme, and she must have a ton of power that they need to shut her down. Because they're all about, they want all the disadvantaged people, like, children, to have their say and get their free speech out there. Because they said a variety of backgrounds, right? They said a variety of opinions.
Variety of opinions. Again, that comes from CAIR, not us. That's their standards.
Mm-hmm.
So they also actively defend a Muslim man who has led actions in line with Hamas, the known terrorist group, according to the Department of Homeland Security. So they're trying to get him out, say, hey, your visa is no longer good. You need to get out of here. And CAIR saying, well, being a terrorist isn't really that bad, right? It's sort of a gray zone, right? No,
maybe that's what they mean by a variety. Right? They support terrorists. They support terrorist sympathizers. They support people who are Muslims who aren't terrorist sympathizers. Wide variety there. Wide variety. From Muslims who are indifferent to terrorism all the way to Muslims who are actively terrorists. Variety of opinions. They support them all.
So, and there's another story from CAIR here, not too much longer. You guys can look this up on their website, which they targeted a teacher and got him fired within days of them pushing for him being fired, demanding that he is fired based upon allegations that he might have discriminated against a Muslim student by not letting her go to the bathroom as often as she demanded. That's it.
Hardcore.
He literally
hardcore
just said wait.
There.
Hardcore. Yes, that definitely involves religion somehow, the amount of times that you need to pee. Now, according to Islam, it does actually dictate that. But not really hate speech if you tell a student they have to wait a little while to pee. But that's actually part of the allegation, is that he said wait. The protests try and shut down speakers at multiple colleges that are saying things they don't like. But they're obsessed.
Wait. Go ahead. They're trying to shut down protesters using their free speech while saying that they're supporting protesters using their free speech?
No, they're supporting protesters protesting people speaking at colleges that they don't like. They're trying to shut them down.
I see. So they only support protesters, not other people. Like not people who are invited to speak.
Not people invited to speak. And only if you're protesting, Free Palestine. Because if you're not protesting Free Palestine, then they go after you for hate crimes and try to shut you down. They seem to be quite obsessed with freedom of speech, but only when it comes to freedom of Palestine, including multiple lawsuits that they have launched. Now, there are some interesting ones definitely when it comes around your story. Let me go ahead and share this article here. Again, this comes from CAIR's website. This is about them taking action after the firing of a nurse after she was awarded and used her free speech during an award in relation to her being a nurse to promote Free Palestine and how much she wished she could support them more in her workplace. Because of that, they let her go. And now CAIR is upset that she used it. Now, in your story, Thaddeus, were you using company equipment to record these videos that CAIR cares about so much?
No, I was not.
You weren't okay, but you were using company time to record these videos.
No, I wasn't. In fact, that's what one of the things they looked at in the first investigation, in addition to the content, they looked at my internet logs and such to determine if I had used their equipment or used my work time to make videos. They did find, in full disclosure, right, they did find that I had visited YouTube Studio a few times during work hours, to which I said, yeah, I was checking the views. And she's like, I get it. My sister, or I don't remember if my sister or cousin or whatever, has a YouTube channel. You're interested in the stats. And they did write me up for that, saying not to do it again. And then I didn't do it again.
Now, again, this is stating that this article here, and they use this a lot, allegedly unjustly fired. So it's not even proven that this individual here was unjustly fired, but she was in a actual official position and leveraging that in order to push her ideology that they fully support and say it's wrong to fire someone over. So I'm assuming that because they have that standard, you must have at some time used your position at your company or wherever it was to push your ideology and promote it to the people underneath you.
No, I never talked to anyone. Well, I mean, that's not quite true. I mean, I talked to people in casual, friendly conversations about religion, but I never like brought it up at the workplace. A lady who was reporting to me, she didn't even have the slightest clue what my position on any of these issues were. She was quite shocked when this news story came out. I'm told that she was quite upset to find out that I was such a hateful individual, and she had no idea, right? She had no idea that I was such a hateful individual, and she's so distraught about it now, learning it, because obviously she doesn't agree with my position. Point being, though, is she didn't even know what my position was. That's how little I was sharing this at work. My former boss, who ended up being dismissed from the company for performance reasons, was in fact a Muslim, and she didn't really know what I was saying about it. She's like, she was my boss at the time the first complaint was raised, and she's like, look, I'm the only Muslim in the office. If that was going to say something to someone, it'd be to me, and he never has. So there you go.
So all your activities online were done in your own free time, not taking away from quality of work. In fact, you know what? Over the last couple of months, I've noticed that you haven't been doing a lot of streaming. In fact, I've heard complaints by an individual quite a bit about you needing to cancel streaming and not focusing as much on it. Mind me asking what you were focusing on so much that was so important to you that you need to put aside your streaming in order to do it?
Yeah. So at work, we were short-staffed. As I said, my boss was dismissed. A coworker in my department had quit. And so we were short-staffed, 2 people in the department, you know, short-staffed a supervisor and short-staffed a team member. And so I was putting in a lot of extra effort. I was putting in overtime hours. And in addition to the hours, it was occupying a lot more of my mental space, right? Come home and I'm thinking about work. I'm not thinking about what to do on my YouTube channel. Numerous times I had a stream scheduled and I ended up canceling it because I had to work late or because something went down at work or whatever the case may be. And so I was like, my boss was dismissed right around December 1st. I don't remember the exact date. It might have been the 2nd or 3rd, but whatever. Right around December 1st. So from December through March 15th, I was like 100% all in on doing my job. And I produced like less than half the content that I normally would have. That's how dedicated I was to attacking Islam and destroying Islam and bringing it up at work constantly and all that. That I was actually neglecting what I believe is a calling from God to do this work because my hours were so needed in the workplace.
So you prioritized your work over the content you were fired for from your work.
Yes.
you're working too hard. That, in other words, that's what's saying. You're working way too hard if they value you so much. Now, that's very interesting because not even a year ago, we have another article from CAIR. Let me pull it on up here. Announcing legal action against a university for firing a Muslim employee based upon, again, pro-Palestine posts. Now, let's see what it says about it. Specifically, right here, where the Muslim was posting about. Now, I agree, if it's your free time, it's your free time. Companies really shouldn't bother about what you do in free time as long as you're working what is required. But here, they're taking legal action against the university primarily because they fired this Muslim employee who expressed support for Palestine through their personal social media pages. So this has nothing to do with the company. This has nothing to do with the university. This is their own personal social media, and they are supporting this. They have the right to. It's freedom of speech. I would agree. But here they have a problem with it. But when it comes to you, they demand your for you to be fired over this.
Yeah. And I mean, I would agree with you. That assuming that there's nothing that I mean, this is just CAIR's press release, so we don't know the whole story. But assuming that this is an accurate statement that this person was fired because they made unpopular statements on their personal social media, I would say 100% they were wronged. But the thing is, I was fired for statements I made on my personal social media at the urging of CAIR. Interesting.
And what do they say about it on the CAIR's website? Oh, here they welcome the firing of you. They celebrate it as you read back through it. And again, it's not, that's from the same website. This is on the same exact website that this one is here, where they're complaining about someone being fired and taking legal action. So they obviously agree that if someone is fired for something they post on their personal social media, that it is wrong and that legal action needs to be taken.
Yeah.
So this seems to be pretty cut and dry, at least to me. It seems like, okay, well, you guys are saying one thing, but of course you're doing another thing. But then again, this does come from a religion that teaches that any non-Muslim is the worst of all creatures. So if you're the worst of all creatures, of course you don't have the same rights as a Muslim individual.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really strange, right? They're all for free speech from a variety of groups, and every one of those varieties happens to be a Muslim who is supporting Palestine.
Yeah, and we can go through, and if you guys are curious about this and don't believe me, which I would recommend you do your own research, not mine. But if you're curious, you can go through and see all the, again, I've watched quite a few of them. As you can see.
Thank you for your
lots of videos. Lots of views. But I'd say at least every other one is about how freedom of speech is critical and you have to have it. And that there's no exception to the freedom of speech. It's for everyone and it's key. And if it is taken away, then it is a violation of constitutional rights and you have to act now. Well, it didn't last that long, obviously.
Well, I mean, I agree. You know, I agree with that sentiment. The problem is, one, CAIR doesn't, and two, Muhammad didn't either. So why are they saying this? Oh, right, because they're saying a half-truth. We want the free speech of all Muslims, but they deep down know what we really want is we want the Sharia law instituted where anyone critical of Islam is subject to the death penalty.
Yes, for advocates of freedom, they have a problem actually advocating for people they disagree with. And I would say I would disagree with a lot of their stances. I would disagree with a lot of the Free Palestine movement, a lot of what they're posting. But guess what? If it's your personal thing, you can post it. I can have the right to disagree with it, and you have the right to post it.
Yeah, I mean,
but you shouldn't be targeted for it.
They called it genocide, right? That's a very bold, opinionated statement. One could say that that is a potentially libelous statement to be making. And yet, I'm agreeing that they have the right to make it. I think it's highly inaccurate, but I think they have the right to state their opinion about this. And I don't think that a Muslim who just states that's their opinion and there's no other circumstances, again, right? We don't know the case of why someone was fired. We only know that one side of the story. But if the only thing they did was make a post on their personal social media that said, I think that Israel is committing genocide and I support Palestine, then I would say 100% there's no reason to fire that person. Now, if it's like that first case where they used a company awards ceremony and got up to accept their award and started going on a political rant, I think that the company definitely does have the right to discipline them, just as they would have the right to discipline someone for, say, going on a pro-Trump or a anti-Hamas or whatever rant, right? You're up there to receive an award, not make a scene. You should be disciplined, or at least can be disciplined, for making a scene when you're acting inappropriately.
Yeah, again, all of these, I'm taking them just at face value based upon what CAIR is saying. Yes, that's only one side of the story, but that's the best spin they're going to put on it.
Right.
And once we compare that to your story, we realize, oh, shoot, they really don't give a crap about these Muslims. They don't actually care about freedom of speech. They're just using this to push their agenda. And again, that is enforcing Sharia law on everyone. So that would be what seems like their end goal is. Now, what are you doing? What's going on with you? Where are you moving from here? Because now you've got so just going through this for a second in my brain. So you are working really hard because you're shorthanded. Your company is shorthanded. So you have to work hard. So you can't create the videos. So you're not creating the videos. This person gets upset that you've created these videos. Therefore, they're going to get you fired from your job. That's stopping you from making the videos and doing live streams.
Yep.
Freeing you up.
Yep.
To do more videos and live streams.
Yep.
So, sorry, that is a really stupid idea.
Yeah, I don't think that, I don't think that Liz thought too far ahead here. I do think that she wanted to get revenge, not just against me. And again, I don't even know why she dislikes me. Honestly, I couldn't figure it out. But also against the company, right? She wanted to hurt CSB as well. But mostly, she just really, really objects to the content. And she doesn't like the fact that the content exists in the first place. And so her grand solution to all this is to punish me by getting me fired, generating over 100 new financial supporters for me, even though I haven't basically asked all that much for people to bring in financial support, and freeing up my time so that I can go from producing one video a month to producing, I'm estimating 4 videos a week. So a little bit of increase right there. One video a month goes to 4 videos a week. And this is her grand plan to shut down my content, is to whine and cry to the media and create a stink about this and get me fired. And she didn't think what my response would be. Well, I mean, maybe she did. I don't know what she did or didn't consider. Maybe she just imagined that if she was in that circumstance, she'd just crumple up to a ball and delete her channel. I have no idea, but that's not how I operate. Right? You take the fight to me, the fight is coming. Absolutely. And just to be clear, I don't mean violence.
Just to be clear, to clarify, we mean mentally, or was it emotionally, or whatever it is that Ali Dawah likes to say. I'm quoting someone. Don't take it out of context. We quote Ali Dawah all the time. It doesn't mean we actually agree with the guy. So
yeah, I mean, Ali Dawah got me fired, right? Because I quoted Ali Dawah calling me a crackhead clown. So
how dare you quote
Dispatch
him?
Article, Thaddeus Billman calls Muslims crackhead clown individuals. and dare to interview someone who the Southern Poverty Law Center calls a voriferous author, Robert Spencer. Of course, voriferous just means that he makes a lot of content. That's hardly a massive insult there.
How dare he make content? How dare he make any content at all? And after all, they are all...
We're proud of that, yeah?
That's not me saying it, okay? Just being clear. Being clear. So here's your channel. How can people support you from here, moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been an outpouring of support since this happened. A lot of recommendations, a lot of calls to create a GoFundMe or other fundraiser to generate lots of funds and sue the crap out of all these people. And I'm taking it slow, right? I'm trying to do this like in the best manner as opposed to the quickest manner. So I'm in contact with some law firms, and there's a good possibility that they'll do it for as a pro bono work, charities that support free speech and such. So I don't want to like go and like ask people for lots of funds if it's not going to be needed. So I want to see where that goes first before I ask for funds. But what you can do, and what I really hope people do, is share the videos. My first video on my situation, people have been sharing that, and it has more than half of its views have come from shares. So that would be that one that says life ruined there. Of course, my life isn't actually ruined. So I guess you could call that clickbait there, but
But that's what they're trying to do. That was their
definitely
goal,
what they're
was
trying to do.
And again, this is CAIR's MO. They have done this to multiple people on baseless allegations. Nothing proven. I mean, it wasn't like they were proven, the teacher that I referred to, wasn't that he was proven that he was racist or anti-Islamophobic to these students. No, it's just allegations, and I got them fired in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And they're boasting that they have that power to attack you in 2 days. So
yeah, so the best thing you can do is share that video. You might think, oh, I don't know anyone. I'm not a social media expert or whatever. Well, I bet you know some family members, right? Have some friends. Yeah, if everyone shares with 2 people, that triples the impact of the video. And the people who need to see this aren't the people who are already concerned about Islam and are already in our circle. The people who need to see this and understand that this stuff is happening are people who don't normally care about Islam and just think that, there's a Muslim down the street and a Christian next door, and they're basically the same. Who cares? Because that might be true about that individual, but it's certainly not true about the religion of Islam, which mandates that good, faithful Muslims violently subjugate the world until the whole world believes in Islam. Do individual Muslims believe that? I don't know. Don't assume that the guy that works at your office or whatever believes that. But does the religion teach that? Absolutely, 100%. And that's what you'll hear in mosques, even here in America. You go to enough mosque services, and I guarantee you're going to be hearing someone preaching exactly that, saying, how dare you support democracy? How dare you support freedom? That's not what the prophet was for. And calling out their congregation for being what we would consider normal Americans.
Yep, but do know that CAIR definitely agrees with that and is promoting Sharia law in the United States and pushing for it. They do say that they want to have political change, that they're going to push for political change. Again, they try to say that it's like diversity for everyone, but that only means, according to their actions, taking their actions into account, it's very clear that they only mean for Muslims and Sharia law enforced. And anyone that has objections or does anything quite slightly questionable would definitely be targeted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to challenge any Muslim or any liberal thinker or whoever who might hear this who disagrees and says, no, that's not what CAIR is all about. Show me one instance where they have ever called for the free speech of someone opposing Islam or even neutral to Islam. Right? They only
I was about to
care
say.
about being pro something related to Islam, and generally only traditional Islam, the kind of Islam that wants to violently subjugate the world. I don't see them going around too much complaining about, say, a moderate Muslim or liberal Muslim or whatever being harassed by their Muslim community for not following Islam properly. I don't see them complaining about that either. It seems they only want to complain about Westerners who don't want to be violently subjugated under Islam.
So if you don't want to be violently subjugated under Islam, then you are on CAIR's hit list.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no problem with Ali Dawa even threatening and saying that people should be killed, even naming names, which is rather interesting in some of his videos. But just like when Muslims do these sort of actions, there's a recourse that we do, right?
Yep.
At least on this channel. And I've set this up prior. So let's go. How big should we go? I just want to know, how big do you want to go? You want a little? Do you want big?
Well,
you want classic?
Let's put it this way. Mr. Tarani, the executive director of CAIR Ohio, believes that I am unqualified to hold any type of job because I have opinions critical of Islam. He believes that I should be made homeless, that I should starve in the streets and eventually die. So since he thinks that I should be executed indirectly for criticizing Islam, I would say whatever the level of wanting to kill a human being justifies.
Whatever level wanting to kill a human being justifies. I think I have one in particular. This was an extremely enjoyable one that I did, and it led me to a large hole that, let's say, Adam Seeker was very curious about when I showed him. So we will end with that, but before we do that, is there anything else you want to add, Thaddeus, or highlight that's coming up?
I would just say, look for a lot of content coming out from me. I posted on my community this morning that I plan to go full, or that I've made the commitment to go full time and commit at least a year effort to this. Obviously, I'm putting some of my effort towards like legal pursuits and whatnot, but I'm envisioning 2 scripted videos a week and 2 to 4 live streams a week. So stay tuned, educate yourself, and share this with others.
As someone who does a lot of videos and live streams, that's a lot of work. Just letting you guys know, that is a lot of work. So let's look forward to that. There are live streams coming up on this channel. I believe I will be joined by Hatun this Saturday when we talk about Bible versus the Quran. But until then, CAIR, you caused us to do this. Just to let you know, you caused this. It wasn't our doing.